Hi everyone, welcome back. Now, I promised to tell you a little bit about your drawing. Now, what I always have my students do, especially if you're not real good in drawing, and that's something that you need to work on. And there's fantastic videos on YouTube and fantastic instructors that can teach you a lot about drawing. But you can still learn how to capture shapes and stuff, and that's what I do, is by using, this is a 3 mil plastic, and I got it from Dick Blick. It's a big, you get it in huge rolls, and it's not expensive, and you can lay that over the draw over your reference, and using a marker. Now this is an absolutely wonderful marker. I got it. We sell it on our online store, and it's Japanese. And I've taught over in Japan 49 times, and every time I go over there, I bring tons of these little markers. You get them at the dollar store there, and they're instantaneously permanent. It has a fine marker end on it, and it has a wider marker end on it, and I just love it. But you can draw on your this, take off some lines that you might think, and then lay it over your painting and see the difference. That's the whole thing. If you can see where the difference is, then you have a great, better job of capturing the image pretty close. So you can see right here with my dark, I'm pretty good. I've eclipsed the ear here with a bit of my background, which I did when I did that brush stroke. So I know I'll bring that back. This is an important line right here. I'm rounded right here on the muzzle a little bit more than what I need to be right here. So it helps you come in and see where some of the problems might be. I'm all real good right down all through pretty much everything, and through his eyes, through his nose, through everything. So just a couple of areas that I will make note of that I am off of. I could bring up the top of his head there just a bit, which I eclipsed, but this ear and that nose, those are the most important ones. And so what's nice about acrylics too is they dry. You can lay this over, redo it, and make a couple of mental notes of where you want to go. I want to pull from that ear right down to about that point in there, and set that. So I want to work on that here first, and then round up some of that. But it's really nice. You can just take off. You have the whole thing, and you can go take some of those reference points off of your animal there, off of that, and see, and with the clear plastic and a marker like that, and see where it is. Now, drawing, and like I say, that's a great way to do it. Drawing is something that you need to do because that helps keep your painting in line. But as you're learning that, and as you're painting that, you can use tools like this to help you see certain areas. So I can see, quite clearly, I need to reset that on his muzzle here, and I'm just going to take some of my light that I had here and grab my stick. Let's get this a little lighter, and because now we're going to work in some of our strokes and start working on some of the calligraphy of him. So I want to make sure that I'm going to capture some of these areas correct to his body shape and perspective wise and everything. So, and that comes a little closer to his nose right up there. And so we'll eclipse that just a bit more than what I had. Put in some of that light. We'll grab some. If I'm pure all Prima, I might even just start leaving some of this brush strokes and stuff like that now. And, really start getting a real nice calligraphy. How much do you do? That's you. That's your technique. That's, my daughter is, she's a fine art, trained artist. I'm not. I started as a chemist, and I'm not a fine art trained one like she is. She leaves a lot more powerful brush marks than what I do, and I'm trying to get her to do some filming and stuff, but she hasn't done that yet. She's an amazing painter. Studied a lot of Sargent, painted a lot of stuff and everything. Something about the camera, and she's good in front of the camera. She's taught over, and she's taught in France and England and down through Taiwan and Japan with me, no problem and stuff. But trying to get her to get up in front of the cameras because she could show everyone here quite a bit more. But I love the smaller brush here to get some of these nice calligraphy strokes. How much you're going to leave into the calligraphy, that's up to you. The smaller, or like the small little synthetic here, leaves a lot of nice texture and calligraphy. So, but you can see I'm bringing this up just a bit, and I'll start to look, and like I'll get a bit lighter here, and I'll see as I'm putting on this light that I need to bring out that nose just a little bit more. See, I got a nice little textured stroke there. Do you leave that, or do you push off? You know, that's going to be up to you, you know. But you can see there I've eclipsed that nose just a bit. So as we're starting to do this, and with that, after you've referenced that drawing, you can start seeing a little bit of what you did. And so here I'll put some more burnt sienna in this, and I want to put that rounder part of that nose out here, and I'll just work it right into the edge of that light I just pushed in. Maybe pull back just a bit. I like the blurry edges. When I first started working to paint, those were just impossible for me because I came from the decorative arts and everything was so structured because we put on patterns of everything. And so I was off. I mean, I couldn't get the nice blurry edge, and that's how I was trained. But now I can start to get some of those blurry edges. Now there's certain things, and I'll start to look for details here. Let's get a bit of that lower nostril light. Let's go ahead and add that. Just rest my hand here. I'll put on too much. That's how I like to do it. And let's focus down that shine, that light. Let's focus that down just one more little bit. Boy, that's too much of a perfect little stroke. Just tap it off a bit there. Don't like the perfect strokes. So I put on too much, and then I paint it out. That's how I realize, that's how I like to do it. That's me. I'd much rather control my light with a dark, because the dark picks it out easier. Now there's probably, 10,000 artists out there that are going to disagree with me on that, but that's how I like to do it. And because the dark paints out the light really easy. So in pure oil primer, darks can sit on top of lights all the time. That isn't part of it. But there is, and I don't mind it. I'm going to push in that darker part of his nostril there, blur off the edges there, and let's put in that bit of a light right here, the lower nostril light right there. Probably just a touch more of the light, a little more gray. It's actually a touch warmer than what I had there. Push that in. You can see though, pushing in, getting in some of these details, it really starts to change him, doesn't it? And let's just take that off just a bit. I don't like to have a stroke into them, so I like let's just get that just a value lighter. Just get brave here, Dave. But usually, it's like me, I like to revisit stuff several times. A little bit against the alla prima, but that's okay. You all understand, I hope. That's what we do, right? There's a lot of artists out there that are they're more purist than what I am, there are times where I'm very much a purist when I'm studying the very technical Dutch technique and stuff, which gives you really the confidence to do a lot of this stuff. And so there are times where I'm just blurring the lower nose here, slightly warm, slightly dark there. I'm an edge painter. I always like to look at those edges. But I'm going to take some of this tone and travel it right down here. That's going to bridge these two areas there, traveling through. Let's put a bit of that lower light. But there are times where I'm a really big purist on stuff. And other times where, especially if I start into alla prima or something and casual roses and stuff, just let yourself go and have some fun. And all of us are going to paint different. That's a good thing. It's the hardest to copy, but it's a good thing. So let's just get a bit of that. And we'll just touch into that. Oh, you know, don't you just hate it? You had that perfect shine and you took it off just a bit. I like to, there we go. It's got to be, you see, I don't have that catch on there, that light on there, just as quite as much. I just want to hit it again. There. Boy, I like these little springy synthetics like that. After the fusions are magnificent for setting the big work, and the springy little synthetic here for setting the little detail bit of that, and it is quite nice. So I put on too much of that, restate that catch light just a bit, put on too much. Let's paint it back. Here just a bit more. Boy, that's almost nothing in my brush there. Just take that with a little burnt sienna and blue, just take out just a bit of that, and take out too much there, Dave, and do it again. That's what I got to do. You can see, that's nice when you see it like that. Can you see that? That catch light that I'm working there is just not as powerful, not too much water. You rinse your brush, make sure you get that water out of there. Otherwise, I touched that board with that would have traveled that water quite a bit. And let's just do that catch light. Sometimes it, you know, you can get them right away, and then sometimes it takes just a couple of little manipulation. Pinch wipe that brush, get that water out of there, and touch that back. Here we go. It's a little closer. Not quite yet, but a little closer to where I want to go. I want to increase that shine, so I'm going to gray down. Here it's a bit warm, so I'm going to warm it just a touch. Increase that other secondary light from the right onto the eye right here. Just a little bit of it there. And too much again. And we'll go blue and burnt sienna. Sometimes you get into this where you just gotta, you have to fuss with it just a bit, and that's okay. We all end up having to do that at some point. There we go. It's a little better. Not quite yet. I still need the, you know, like we said, we still need those dark shadows and stuff like that. But I want to get a bit more light around him going here. So, and I think I'm gonna stay with this small synthetic for just a minute. I'm gonna go burnt sienna, some yellow, and some white. Here we're gonna look for some of those lighter tones. Beautiful soft tones. There's two stages to it here. So let's come right up here by this and pull right up by that eye. And just kind of sometimes use the chisel, sometimes there, so you don't get a super finite edge there. Let's pull some of that in there. I love that tone. Nice kind of grayed, warm tone here. I'm going to drag that down this side just a bit more. But you can see some of those other tones coming out there as well. Now I'm going to lighten up that tone just a bit more because I think it's probably going to dry just a touch darker than I want it to. So we'll push some of that before we go to the light tone. There. We go like that. Now let's go to the lighter tone. Now, you know, if you want, you can, you know, soften all that brushwork off. That's you decide that. You can, you know, like I showed you, take some water and soften some of that off or whatever. That's up to you. That's your painting. I'm not going to do it on him here. I'm not going to a certain extent, right around the face, I'll fix some areas, but I love brushwork. I love the power of calligraphy. That's why I so enjoyed Franz Hall's paintings. And I'll just push off just a bit. Let's get a touch more light. I mean, I could use, you know, you can follow Sargent and use as large a brush as possible, so I'm kind of violating Sargent here a bit, but this is David's version right now. Finding my way. And so but when I put on some of these highlights like this, I do like a to put in some of the details up around there like that and work those. But there is something to, about painting this and a good exercise for everybody. Paint this all again. Give yourself no more than 2 hours and paint the painting. And so you have to move, and that would be great. Let's take some of this nice light and warm. Let's make that upper stroke right through here. Fracture that edge just a bit there. And if it doesn't, that's good. Paint up here too at the same time. Push some of that through. We have to change direction of his fur there. But let's just pull. He's graying up along the muzzle here. Watson was a service dog. He's retired, so he's an older dog. So he's graying a little bit up around his muzzle and everything. So we'll get some of that light up there. Like that. Let's pull some of this light and up like through here. A bigger mark of it right down there. And we'll push off there. Push off some of that mark. Let's step back down towards our yellows. A little bit of burnt sienna, a bit of the orange here. And whisper some of that right back up in here. Get some of that nice little older fur marks right up there. That's kind of good. Let's take just a bit of that burnt sienna and yellow and stroke back in. Like I say, I love to set the lights, but then I love to paint them out into position. See, with that dark, with that medium tone or dark, it's just so much easier. At least for me, it is. And I'm going to set these lights and darks there just a bit more. Like that. I love the movement around the eyes, and especially around his eyes there. So, I've got to capture that. I've encroached too much on the eye here. I need some of these grays, and well, that's been a while since see, it's coming back up. Been a while since I painted with that. You can always mix it again. I'm a big advocate of mixing this and make the tone again. We're supposed to be tonal painters here, Dave. But let's just make a nice softer gray. Drop that down. See, I lost some of that right around through here with all that kind of playing around a bit. So I want to push that gray up of that lower lid. There. Open that eye back up again, the softness of that eye. And let's put a little light half-tone stroke right down there as well. Right into that. There. Like that. That's pretty good. There. You can, like I say, you can leave more of the mark. You can leave more of a fur mark with just the tip of the brush like that. And it just, I love that calligraphy like that. And I want to put in just a touch of lighter gray. We'll get that water in the brush. You rinse like that. Touch of the lighter gray right here, almost like a rounding, using just a point of the chisel here, like a rounding kind of stroke for the lower bit of the eyelid there, like that. And because you can see that there on there. And this is, I don't concentrate early in the painting. I don't concentrate on any of this, but now it's time to start looking at that and bringing some of those colors back in. Let's get that dark. Oh boy, gotta rinse that brush again. That's the thing, is they do hold water, boy, these synthetics, so you gotta rinse them out. Let's get that dark, some blue, some orange here, so you get a nice gray. Warm it just a bit with also that burnt sienna. And let's make sure we get that nice dark to the lower part of the eye there. That's that lid line right in there. bit more of that up at the upper part. It could have just a bit more of that sienna in that. Get nice and warm. There, like that. There. Let's get a bit more sienna. Just restate some of this color right around that eye. There. I'm a big advocate of capturing the eyes. Work them, and and it takes you. Sometimes it takes you a little bit to capture those eyes, but this is a main part of the painting here. So fuss them a little bit and capture them. Capture those colors. Capture that movement of them. We want to make sure that gray pulls out just a bit more. Restate that just a bit. There. That's getting better, getting closer. There's just a little bit of a mark. I'm a little flat right there. It needs to come out a little bit more. And you might see it. That's the individual thing. You might see it a little different than I see it, and that's great. That's what makes us all different. But like I say, put on too much, and then I'll paint it back out again. And it's kind of funny. This is I just finished that other retriever, and this is my second one, and then I'm going to go paint that wolf. My eye's a little bit more attuned to the tone this time around than it was with the first retriever. And it has been quite a while since I painted the dogs, and so it's kind of it is where you do them more often, or if you pick up on the tones just a little faster, and I'm finding that and especially painting him this time right now. Here, let's drop this down just a bit. It's not exciting on the video to paint something like that, but let me tell you, when you're painting, this is such an important part of the entire painting, especially this eye that I'm kind of fussing with right here on this side. This is a huge part of the painting, and so you work it just a bit. Let's bring that catch light up just a bit more. It's a little bit narrow compared to the other one there, so let's just round that up just a bit. There. A lot better. Okay. Now, to the other side, boy, we don't do too much on that other eye there, but I do want to set some of those nice warm tones back up in here. Even though you don't see them too much into the photo reference here, I do want to warm that up a bit, and a little more so than what the photo reference shows, just because I love the warmth in an eye. I like to do, and I want my customers to see that warmth, that beautiful warmth into the eye. Now in the other one, I didn't do it this one, but the other one that's back there, I put that Diarylide Yellow glow into it first, but this one doesn't have a glow because of the light source and stuff. He doesn't have a glow this time, so I didn't put that in. So we have this. So now what we'll do is we'll come in. I'm going to go back to my number 8, and I'm going to start working some of the tones again. I'm going to start over here by the light side. Let's grab some of this lighter yellow, orange kind of color, and I'm going to restate some of the tones that were close to what we used in the first time. Take some of them alla Prima off and out the edge. Work the edges just a bit, and gray this just a bit. A little green. Work through now with more power of a stroke. That's going to fur him up a bit. Here, let's put in that little hit of the bit of that sienna there, maybe a touch of green in it. Here. There we go. And a little bit more sienna. Touch of green right into that. Let some of that color there. A little bit more light. So I'm doing real quick. And this is what, you know, kind of like what I'm doing now is really what the Prima would do, is grabbing it real quick and making these color marks a little quicker. But by going through first, especially if I'm in a teaching class, going through first, establishing your what we do in Premier Coup, what's called the mosaic of tones, it's a lot easier to come back and loosen up because you know right about that area that you're going for or what you're going for with that tone. So it makes it a little bit easier to paint it, you know, a second time, and to get a little more calligraphy if you want to your painting, which I want to get just a touch more calligraphy to this. There we go. And let's take some of that, even slightly on the green side here. It's got just a bit pulling down here. Like that. That's a bad hair day on him right there, so I'll have to fix that up. Yeah. I don't get frustrated with something like that. I just kind of laugh at it a little bit. It keeps it fun. And let's get just a bit. That's a bit of that darker tone that sits underneath there. Now let's get back up to that brighter tone. Push that in there. And just kind of incorporate those colors right there like that. That looks better. And maybe a little hit of that tone further out. Gets that nice loose hair to the ear there. Like that. That's kind of better. And let's get a bit more warm light right up there. Pull down and through. That nice warmth here. See if I still got a little bit of wet color on the edge of that ear, and I just blur those together. And I like that. And that's one good reason not to jump around too much, because those edges will stay a bit wet for a bit, and you could use some water and just blur their edges there, and it'd be all right. Let's take some of this. Let's cool it. Just anytime you're passing that halfway, cool over just a little bit. But let's keep this into the light right there. Well, that's a good tone. And just drag some of that through here. I want to define that center line of his head there a bit more. Let's get a bit lighter. And just light pressure on your brush, and you'll get that nice hair calligraphy that I like to use on the animals with these little fusion brushes. I love the fusions. They do so much. Let me give you a nice little hair calligraphy here. Let's put a bit more light. Work that through there. Just whisper, dry, scumble there. Some of this pulls down this way. There. Slightly darker, slightly grayer. I'm going to put just a bit of extender in this to make the color slide just a touch. Here. Let's pull through. Establish that. Pull some of that right through. It could be. No, now when you're putting these on, if you go too much, you'll eliminate everything you did, and so you have to be kind of careful. Think smaller, lighter, smaller. That's the good rule of art. Law of disproportionate color, what artists use. Lighter, smaller. So don't get rid of all the tones we did before. We're just accentuating them with a little light brush calligraphy over them. causing some of the movement of the hair and stuff here. So don't get rid of all those underlying tones. That's what's going to give him so much interest there, right? Let's take just a bit of that light right out of that center line. It's got kind of like a old barbershop, you know, barber breaking his hair there. It's kind of neat. Let's gray down. A little lighter, a little gray. So I'm adding an extender just to thin the color and make it slide over the surface just a bit like that. I like that calligraphy like this. We'll just add a bit of that down and up by his eye here, down this side, over those edges. Touch more. I think I want to, before I leave that area up there again, I want to reset that. I love that light on the upper brow. Make that a bit bigger and a bit more powerful. There. So it could be and I do like to do it with as large a brush as possible. That small one sometimes just doesn't, I mean, it does great detail, but it's nice to have a combination or a mixing of both of them there. That works as well. So you get a calligraphy from both of them, and you get this type of calligraphy going, man, you get a lot of nice interest into your painting. Working it. So you wouldn't do that much with pure alla Prima like I'm doing here, so it's a bit off a bit, but it's fun. I'm a tone painter. I'm going to spend a couple hours getting to this point. I want to work the tones a bit because I like that. This is the part of the painting I really like. Okay, let's get down here with some of that gray and cool. Very light. Let's get some of that over here. Let's set that right back there into that light of his eye. It's got just a bit darker. Burnt sienna, green. Cool it with a little red violet. Here. Pull that down. Here. He's got this wonderful little push up of the hair. So a lot of times I like to do it with the dark. See how that just pulls, that dark just shapes so well. Here. Now I want to get this, take some of this color. I'm going to add some extender to it so it slides. Just a touch lighter. I want to get the work on the plane of this side of his face here. A little bit more, not quite vertical, slightly angled strokes there. Let's go a bit more to the burnt sienna and a bit of that. As you head darker, go to the red violet. And get that right in there as well. Round that in. Round that up and in there. And that here, right there. And let's go back, warm this just a bit. Drag that up and through. Lift off. Grab some more, drag it up and through, lift off, and you get that nice transitional tone there. Let's pick up a bit more light, lighten that up. Let's gray that. This is completely dry here. Let's see if we can reconstitute some of it. Yes, we can. So we'll get this gray. Just start adding a little bit of water onto your glass here. And it'll start moving that pigment right up. If not, you can just grab some of your finger and push it a minute. That's a beautiful little tone. So let's grab that right up here, right above his eye again. Reset that nice lift off light there. Down this direction and over front of that eye there. Right, just drag it ever so lightly across that eye there. Breaks that. And a little bit lighter, just a touch lighter. Drag that right across. You could use the chisel if you want. You could. There's all kinds of ways. In the other one I showed all kinds of ways to make hair, from a bristle brush to everything. But I do love the painterly look of it. Now, his top of his whole forehead right here starts to get a little flat because I've lost the shadow plane up there. See, so I need to restate that. Let's get some burnt sienna and some green before I get too much fussy on the thing. That's a big area I lost in the painting right here. So I want to get that down. That's a bit dark. Some of my color theory students probably just fell out of your chair when I put that on. It's like, come on, Dave, that's too dark. So let's lighten that up, make that a little bit more, a little bit more of the burnt sienna. Maybe toss in a bit of that orange in there, a bit of that yellow. Vary that tone just a bit more. Let's back out some of that dark. That's much better. That's more like I know what I'm doing. Pull some of that down here. We'll incorporate that and get that nice. Let's get some of that nice yellow in there again. Yellow oxide right on a little half tone. And that happens, that's the thing is I was painting all those other things and worrying about his head, and I painted out most of that shadow tone, so you just go add it back. What's wrong with that? We can do that. Pull some light down. Let's try not to eliminate it too much there, Dave. We'll be back here putting it back in again. But see how that rounds up his head a lot better. And it's the angles now. Now you got to slow way down and look at those angles. That angle is a very important one right there, and I want to capture that. That angle, and it's kind of a turning angle here. This is real tight, that's loose, and that one goes back just a bit. So this one is very important right in there. And I want to catch that angle because that's flattening out the top part right there, or the plane that he needs to have right in there. So watch your calligraphy. This rounds around to the back there. Watch your calligraphy. So I'm saying you're gonna get that. Let's get this nice little, but you can play these tones. Now see, if I was pure all of Prima, there's some of these tones I just let go. I mean, and I wouldn't concentrate that much on them. But it's I have the time here, so I'm gonna do it. I said, I told myself I want to try to paint this in about 3 hours, and I'd love to try this again in about 2 hours. So it'd be great to try to trim an hour off and work a little faster. Grab some of those tones a little quicker. That could be a bit lighter. And that's what you do. That's how. And you see, the thing is, so many people say, okay, so why the speed? The speed brings a casual power to your painting. And when you start taking too long to paint something, it gets stiff. So, we do timed paintings like this, and we try to work as fast and efficiently as possible. And all the great masters said that. Work fast, work efficient. Because there's, this, and Sargent said, the most power comes from the first stroke. For example, if I come in here and I pull down this light stroke, that stroke is now at its ultimate power. It's a little too warm, but it's ultimate power, right? And he said that from that point on, he'd always you're not allowed to touch a stroke more than 2 more times, but he would say the stroke, as I start to touch it, starts to lose its power. So, if you want a more powerful painting, you need to put the strokes on and not touch them. That's basically, in a nutshell, what it's all about. And I'm going to gray this up just a bit, because there's just a little bit of an underlying gray. God, I can't forget to have that nice cerulean. Cerulean grays it so much better sometimes than that phthalo. It's a little hard to use, but that phthalo I needed for the real dark colors. So let's get this gray. See, that's a beautiful gray right in there, coming down off of that eye. Right there, that little undertone there. Let's get it a little lighter. Right in there, just push that in. Let's just incorporate that gray into those other strokes there. And then I'm going to push that little bit of lighter warmth. Just a little curve of it right up there like that, rounding that socket just a bit. Right like that. See, that's the calligraphy I like. And let's just lighten, warm this down, set that gray in just a bit. That's nice. Boom. Try to, sometimes, you know, with the acrylics, and you know, the oils always dry just right about what the value is, what you're working with. But the acrylics, the binders and stuff that are used are kind of a cloudy white, and they tend to dry down just a bit. So we know that acrylics dry a little bit darker. So that's all you got to do, is just work your tones a little lighter so that they will dry a bit darker. Now take a look at that back there on that camera. And you should be getting up and taking a look at it every once in a while. And that's kind of important. Let's get that. How many times have I reset this light up there? Well, it dries down, and as you get more experienced in it, you'll get closer, faster. That'll happen as you learn, and as your brush gets more confidence, and you learn not to play and with it. And I don't do portraits like this very often, dog portraits and animal portraits. I should do more. I love flowers, but and I love wildlife, but I should do some more of these, because it's really good for your brush to paint all the different genres. That's what I always tell my students, and it is so true. Let's just get a bit more of that light, fuzz off that edge, pull this plane down that eye, slightly different. Grab that across there. See, I love all that. That's the auto Prima that I like. Just grab some of that movement. Let's grab nice older dog. Put some of this nice gray. Just whispered a bit right across there. View of it just whispered through. There, like that. And you can soften him out too. There's a lot of you out there that like to have him softer, and sure enough, you can do that. And let's get some siennas, yellows, grays. Boy, that, and gray with a little green. Boy, and that green grayed that real quick. Here, a little bit of cool. I'm going to go back up on this other side of the forehead and set that lighter tone again. Kind of a little bit more hair, set this back just a bit. Go just a whisper stroke, and it just makes that nice kind of curve there, makes the nice hair kind of curving down through there. And just a bit back there. And I had flattened out part of his ear over here. We remember that from looking at our drawing again. So I want to grab some burnt sienna green, maybe just a touch of our violets. Doesn't take much green. Gray that out. Let's pull that out just a bit, leave some of that nice movement. Well, I could go, I'm just a little bit yellow compared to that one over there as I look across, but we'll take care of that. A lot of just little fine tuning. I'm to the point where I'm fine tuning my tones, and as I'm fine tuning my tones, I'm thinking about the lower part of my painting, just what do I want to do with that? How do I want to finish that off? And I want to put some nice, powerful alla Prima, I think. And they're big, powerful. I'm going to channel Franz Hals and see if I can get some of that nice look that he did here, and push some of this light down there like that. Grab some of that here, and let's just pull down a little different there like that, and could go a bit darker, a little dark green, cool it with violet and burnt sienna. Boy, that's a good grayish tone. Just work that a bit, but then let's cool it and red it up just a bit here. That's better. Work that edge there too. See, I put on a lot of paint, so it's going to stay wet there for a little bit, and you just pull down through, and you'll get that look of hair, and give it that oil look. But it's so much easier, and I'll be honest with you, I mean, I loved all the years I painted with oils, and it's so much easier for me with the acrylics that it's dry. And if I want to really work something, I put on real thick paint, and then I just push it. Otherwise, I'll let it dry up so I don't mess it up, and I'll revisit it if I need to. But, you know, I just put on thick paint like that. That edge is wet and will stay wet, and I can come back here and just manipulate through it. And so in just a few minutes, if I want to work it again, I'll just let it dry for a few minutes, and then I can come back and work it again without disrupting everything I did before. And to me, that's a lot easier. There's people that'll disagree, and that's okay. But for me, for my hand and the way I like to paint, that's just a lot easier for me. And since I'm a tone painter anyway, that works. So let's just get a little more sienna and yellow into that cool, and let's just pull down that edge, that outer edge, and just fuzz that out a bit and blur that out. Get that nice lost edge out over there. He has that one, makes him look like bad hair over there. I'll probably have to restate that or take that off. Or you could just take some water and scrub out and take some of that out. That's the nice thing about acrylics there too. We can do that. I like that lost edge, but I really kind of want to bring up, let me just sidetrack here for a second, some of my violets and some siennas. A little bit of that nice cerulean here. Lighten this up and get that, just a sparkle of that through light right over here. I think it's kind of nice right down that edge there. A little bit of that through light through. There. I think that's kind of cool. I like sparkles of light through. And it used to, I used to not know quite, but as you paint more and more with some of these, you see just a little bit more. Now that small brush is leaving a lot of calligraphy over there for me, more than what I really want. So I'm going to take my larger brush, a little bit of water with it, and just pull out, maybe soften with a paper towel there just a bit. But I like that sparkle of that light right there. Pulled out. Dance that edge just a bit there, and that will dry down. And that's the thing, is look at it and that'll dry down. And we want maybe up on the other side here, up over here, a little bit of that, more of that light as well. Let's get it just a touch warmer. Bit of that cerulean though. back up over here, reset that. Yeah, see that? A little bit of warmth in there. It's really nice. And see, I love setting colors like this. The light colors to it. You know, just, now if you want it soft, put a little water in it. And that, see how that instantly softens it out here. And put in as much calligraphy as you want into that. You know, that's how much, you know, if you work it again and again, it gets softer and softer. Boy, that was a lot of water. It just dripped right off my brush. And a little dirty paper towel there. That's kind of nice. I like that kind of. And little hits of, like right up there in the photo, but by his ear, it's kind of nice to have that light show up there as well. And I like lost edges. I like blurry edges into the back. That's really a nice portrait like that. Let's take some of that and blur those edges of that ear back there like that. And I lost the that upper point, and that's kind of bad there. So we'll fix that right up into that negatively, which means painting it, the shape of it with the background rather than the positive of painting it with the ear. So we'll pull that up like that. See if we leave that just a... Could have, I still really like, I'm going to change paper towels here, still really like that real warm hit stroke. Get a bit of that orange in there, right down that edge. Could have a bit of light, but I just like working those edges. You know, to me, one of the great parts about the dogs is their ears. They're always so, you know, and I just like capture them a little closer than what I'm doing there. Let's get a bit of that light, track up that side of that head again. And you can blur that around there. And let's work that edge just a bit. And that nice warm. Sometimes it's nice just to add water to thin it out and just work that tone a couple of strokes. And yeah, let's get just a couple strokes of light up through there. And remember, that's going to dry down just a touch, so you can, there's a smaller little light set right in there. Actually, a touch more of a shadow in there too. There. Hits that better. Now I got to bring back that light roundness here to his ear. Come on, Dave. Get that. There. And let's go back to our smaller one here and just pick up a bit of dark. Set that back in again. And it you know, you just like, okay, you know, you should have left that, you know, why? It's really kind of easy just to add it again if you need to. You know, I'm not bothered by that. And Pure All Prima, you know, you should be a little more cautious maybe. But I love to go through different cycles of being really casual and then, you know, not quite so much, but I like the different cycles of the painting here. Now, this side of his face could come down just a bit more. Push that edge of that nose in just a touch there. And that could be just a little bit lighter. So you see all these small little bits here. There we go. Gets him closer and closer. Let's get a nice little half tone lighter and kind of swing that up. here. But that's why, you know, even though we're all Prima with this, you know, working these tones and building up, building up, building up is giving you a nice look. And it's a great way to approach it. So, and we're about 2.5 hours into the painting, so not quite 2.5 hours. But you see how many times I've gone back up over that area there, setting that tone, which is not, you know, where some people will not consider the alla prima, but with the acrylics, that sure makes it a lot easier, especially, you know, because we don't always know just how much an acrylic is going to dry down, because it depends on the colors around it and the layers that you're using, what colors are underneath it. So sometimes an acrylic painter painting alla prima, we have to adjust a couple times. There, like that. That's not too bad. I like that it could have just a little bit lighter and hit those edges. Leave some of that brushwork there. There, like that. Now he has a little bit more defined shadow. I'll state that, and then I'm going to go down, I think, and work on some of the lower part of his fur and stuff. I'm kind of liking that eye there. You know, we'll have I've got to work the, maybe I should work these shadows on this lower, or this upper lip here on this side. Work those again, a little gray. Don't forget to put in a bit of that burnt sienna just to keep it warm and get an, otherwise, you know, the lip here and well, what's going on here with his lip and his face are going to look different from each other, so be too far away from each other. Let's put a half tone in there, soften that. That's a better gray tone. Pull that up and around just a touch. Right, that's a nice little tone there. That worked. Need a bit of that tone right over here. Do like that, but I just a little bit of that scumbling. See, that works so well with that. We could actually put a little bit lighter tone, just a touch warmer. Right there, it's a bit more orange than what I have in my brush right now. Set that. Darn, that's not quite there. A little bit more orange and yellow. Remember, it's going to dry down too, so you have to see it more of a mark. Thought I had that with that first application of it, and it dried down. So I get to do it again. My Perinone here is almost too dirty with the blue. But we're close, so I'm not going to put out any more. Expensive, powerful little pigment, though. Doesn't take very much to do what you want to do with it. It's just a nice, I always call it a high-performance mixing pigment. I love it in other pigments. A little cooler, a little darker here. Set those again. And the second time through, you get a bit more depth into your coloring here. A bit more depth. Here, a little bit more burnt sienna. A little bit. Could add a touch of violet in there, but that just works really great. Let's get this a little deeper, a little grayer. Set some of that right back. Just a bit more gray. I do like some of that warmth around his eyes. Here. And I pulled down just a bit. You gotta make sure to keep that cheek and check there. Let's make sure this is cool. A little violet. right there. That light. Pull down just a bit. There. A bit heavier. There. And let's get it just a touch more. So you know it's all refined, but you know sometimes you're painting quick, boy, you don't get that refined. You just get that close, and then that's it. You call it, you know. But that's going to dry down, and I think it's going to be okay. I'm going to take some lighter color here with a bit more of the gray, and set this kind of upper lid right there a bit. Maybe pull up and around just a touch more for his eye. I like that, and maybe we'll work. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back to my detail brush here for just a second because these are small little hits here. Gray that down just a bit. And some smaller little upper lid lines here that around that eye that just gives him such pretty look there. Don't eclipse the eye too much, you'll make him angry. Bit more light. There's a bit lighter mark, and leave the mark, leave the, that's not light enough. Leave the mark, leave the stroke. There. Just a bit more. And this is, those of you that love texture, this is when you're texturing as well. You're texturing those strokes, right? We'll pull down. Now see, before I pushed that tone, so I'm not pulling down that far into the eye anymore. I'm staying right up here by the apex of the roundest part of his, that socket, when that's what's putting in the small little light right up there. I've already blurred the tones together. I don't need to do that again. There. Just some of that feathering there. Let's push a bit more of that. Slightly cooler. A little coolness into it. Push a bit of that right in there. I like that little calligraphy, that little brush calligraphy in like that. That just works. And it's the calligraphy, I feel. It's like what Hall says. It's that calligraphy that just gives that extra little punch of life. I'm not going to do rapier-like strokes, though, but I am going to do some. There we go. Okay, let's go. I'll go down and then I'll revisit that top just one more time. But I want to here go quickly down here to the bottom, and I'm going to use my 3/4 inch brush. I'm going to start setting. We haven't set any of our lighter lights down there, and we need to do that before we start finalizing anything. Let's get this light warm. I'm going to add a little extender to this too. This is going to cause my colors to slide quite a bit. And I'm just going to kind of catch the fur, the angles, and dress his fur here just a bit. Let's go up just a touch here. You can see that over to the side here a bit. Now you can see I'm lower in value right now, and I'm right about in there. So I haven't put the light on. I'm going to come through this first. Little extender, and it's going to stay wet for several minutes, and that's going to give me time to work this if I want to. But I'm working on a dry bit, so that also gives me a nice look that I like. I'm going to push that light over the edge there just a bit and recede it. Now, if I want it to really recede, rinse your brush, take a little bit of water, and just pull right through until you get rid of, softened out some of that calligraphy. And see what that does? That works pretty nice. Now we could get, you can start getting really finite with your tone and say, I need a little bit more of that sienna back there. I put in a little too much, but that works. I could lighten that just a touch. That works. Let's, I always like to redress the darks before I get into the lights. I'm going to have to stop painting here real soon because I'm running out of burnt sienna. And put just a touch of extender, and again, I'm not blending with it. I'm just causes the color just to slide over the surface, which is what I like. And I like that read there like that. And a bit more sienna. Just restate that lower bit there. See my tones a lot better. Drop some of that in there. Nice shadow side to him here. And drop some of this down, nice dark. Let it come out a bit. Work out down through here. Just scrub it out. And see how much I put down here is now, and I can soften with a paper towel, is now controlled by the overall contrast I want in the painting. But I've got a lot of his face done now that I can see how much of the dark I want to push down there. That's my dogs getting up, telling me they're going to be over here in a minute, telling me it's time to take them for their walk. But I'm going to get out some more burnt sienna. When you do a lot of painting, you get the colors in big jars so that they, just put out some more burnt sienna here. Getting close, so just a little bit more. And there we go. Let's just work this. A little more sienna here. Let's just work that warmer here. And some more yellow right in here into that sienna. Let's just grab some of that right down here. And see, I use a lot of paint here, and it's just going to stay wet, and you can work some of those nice areas. You can pull through with a little paper towel. I like to do that, especially as I'm heading out away from some of the painting there, or where I want to, my center of interest and stuff. Here, bit of those siennas, darker siennas coming forward here. A little blue sienna, some violet. Yeah, right up too far into his ear. I'll be restating that again. Pull some of that back. Let that just fade away there. Now, I've got this cut off a bit here too, so I want to thicken his body just a bit. Let's get a bit of that dark. See, a few of those darker tones just really help. Just the overall painting. Pulls it right up there towards his eye there too. So, blue and burnt sienna is just great on him here though. Let's grab some extender into this. Work. That's a beautiful tone to come tap around through there a bit. There. Let some of that just fade away. Sometimes, I'll push some tone out there and read it just a little bit darker and stuff than what it actually is on him. And that's the artist, sometimes something inside tells you to do that. And you just got to listen to it, to do that. Let's get a little sienna into that. Bit of my brighter yellows and some sienna. Don't over mix it up too much so that when you slide here, you get that beautiful sliding a la Prima kind of look, the modeling of those tones and stuff out there. And the look to that. Let's go just a touch lighter. Boom, pull that stroke out. Now that's just a bit dark, so all I do is, a bit light, so I'll just put some dark on my brush and just come right down through it. And see this? That's that pretty look. You're using thick paint, a little bit of extender in it. That's giving you a nice look to it. Nice working time. I don't want, I don't need hours to do this. I just need 5-10 minutes of just real loose color that I can work through. That's all I need. Any more than that, and I'll play with it and it'll blend. And I don't want to do that. Incorporate those colors together a bit. That's not very good there. Let's take a bit more sienna. Pull down through that. A little smoother in the tone. I don't like that much blue coming out into the tone because he's not a blue dog. Let's grab some light, some yellow, some of those yellows right here. Let's grab that highlight that's right there. That pulls down, and that could go a touch lighter yet. Sometimes I'll let my colors get really thick to do this kind of stuff too. You let them out over, set them out in the early morning for an afternoon painting. Let them tighten up a lot, get thick. And I like that feeling too sometimes. There. Grab some of this. Here. There we go. Maybe a more powerful little stroke right in there. So I roll my brush sometimes over onto the sides and stuff, and that works really well. Okay, let's, and we're going to gray, and I'm going to add a little bit of that violet background out here. And to this, violets, a little bit of my cerulean there, and some of my warm tones together to create some of these lost edges. Now I'm going to add some extender and some water to really thin it out. It's really thick, and I don't want that thickness down here. I want thin. I want thin color that doesn't have as much power. And see, the violet grays that all down. I'm going to incorporate those violet colors, the outside background, into the dog right there, so everything starts to soften out. See? Working with your background is one of the most important things. Let's just grab some of this nice color. See, that gives me, I can make the lost edges of our dog here. We can pull some back in, make the lost edges, but the violets that we're showing up there into the backgrounds are so important for those lost edges there of the dog. And let's go lighter, not quite as much violet. Let's find some of those light highlights that we'll find right up there. Pull those through. And your own individual calligraphy, this is when it can really start to come out. I'm just going to push that. So if I want to soften it, see, I've got so much paint and it's wet, I can push it just like an oils. So acrylics can do what the oils do. You don't have as long to work with it, unless you really use a lot of extender, which I don't like to do. I used to. Well, I used to like to paint with a lot of extender. And now it's just get the paints thick. Don't play around with them forever. And you can do a lot of fun looks. Now that might be too much calligraphy down there. I don't think so. I'll push it around a bit. But see how I can just add some little stuff, or I can grab some of the yellows and other colors and just kind of go through a bit and push in all of that lovely calligraphy there in his body. There, like that. Takes a powerful brush. Takes some confidence. That'll come with time. Like I always tell my students, it just comes with time. If you're painting just once a month, you're looking at several years. But if you're painting, once or twice a week, then it goes relatively quickly to get that confidence. There we go. And let's be confident, Dave. Drop that over. See, just kind of read a little bit of that movement. You don't need to get too wide. Just want to capture. And some of it, you might just soften down because, some of him here looks like a bad hair day. So we just might want to calm some of it down. But let's get just a bit of that sienna with that. Pull right down through that. There. That's better. There. How much you do? See, I need a bit of a violet, so this is starting to tack a bit, so I'll loosen it up with some solvent, and then I can add some extender to work it back again. I'll get some of that violet out here on the edges, cause that receding of him just a bit. You can see it in the picture. You can see more of that violet on him back there. See? There we go. And I want to build up. I like the dogs when they have these nice chest lights right through there. There, like that. That's kind of nice. And of course this will dry down, so I think we'll be okay because I don't want to get too much here. But I think we'll be okay. Let this dry down. And let's put now adding the Diarylide Yellow to this, a little Hansa Yellow to your burnt sienna, you get this kind of glowy color here. It glows. And you can whisper that through to bring out. Now, the whites, as soon as we add this to it, will soften it. But, he has some really golden areas here that we might want to just bring out a bit more. Now, that'll dry down too. And then let's just grab some light. Stroke right back through that again. Not all of it out. Just take out some of it. Here. Down like that. Just capture the tones. And the strokes don't have to be really accurate because, when the painting is gone, no one's going to hang the photograph right next to it. So you don't have to be super accurate with capturing the calligraphy of the body. It doesn't. Just get some of these nice, beautiful tones in there too, though. That's kind of fun. Since we're tone painters, we can do that. Let's just grab those nice warms right there. That's nice. Now, carry that tone. That's a beautiful, nice, glowy, warm tone. Let's carry it a bit. Don't get rid of all your other tone. Just carry it a bit here. And Dave, don't take out all that shadow up there at the top. Don't do that either. Boy, so many rules, huh? There we go. That looks good. Let's put just even though he doesn't have it, let's put a bit of the edge right over there of that. I just love it. And a bit right out on that ear maybe. Right there. That's kind of nice. Here. And let's get some of this grade and violet and shape up just his outside edge here just a bit. Some few of those. Sometimes I like to make the counter stroke, and I like that. Then I want to give a feeling of a little bit more full chest right here that he has. So I'm just gonna push a bit more of that out like that. What a beautiful animal. He's a beautiful dog. Watson, not Winston, Watson. He was a service animal. Now he's retired. And that's a fun one to paint. I want to get that kind of puka dark out. That's kind of interesting. There. And a little bit there. And I think I will let him dry up and take a look. That might be too dark, but it might be kind of nice to have that tone down there like that. Could pull out a little more out. That needs to have a bit of green and blue in it. When you're up in there, and cool that off, I think you can get away with it, but you've got so many finite tones there, you really need to get that in there. Yeah, that really makes a difference. Get that cool color and gray it out. That really makes a difference there. So now there's some, I encroached on his eye a bit. And I think I'll do that. And then I need to step back and look at it. That's pretty good. And that's kind of where I want to capture. I might let this dry and push a little bit more light, which I think would probably pop him just a bit farther forward, But I encroached on his eye here just a bit, so I want to grab, and I have that kind of tone. And then it's good to put it away for a few hours and maybe for a few days. Some artists do it for a few days and then bring it back out and take a look at it. But the thing is, with all of Prima, you shouldn't touch it because you're a different artist that next time through. But it's good to look through it and evaluate it again and see if you see anything a little bit different on it that you might want to do. So that pulls a bit closer to what his eye is there. And I'll reset to look at that up here onto this side here. I could use just a whisper. I like it to be just a touch granulated. That gives a little bit more to the tone, and it adds just that extra little interest there to the around the eye socket. And I'm going to increase the light of that catch light just a bit more there. And yeah, just that'll dry down, so I think I'll be okay. Just a little secondary one there, and just a little bit grayer here. There. And I do kind of like that. That's a bit light. I might just push it back in with some toned sienna here. Boy, you rinse that brush, get out of it. And a little bit of the toned color, just to soften that in. Now, when those eyes are really dry, then you take your violet color, which is your red violet and some blue here. You can even put a bit of green in, which causes it to gray, but don't get it too dirty. Leave it kind of clear color. I mean, kind of intense, because it's a nice, deep, intense shadow. And you put on just a bit of the upper eyelid shadow on the eye. Pulling it across, that sets the eye back into the socket just a bit more. There. And I really need to restate those catch lights on the lower eye there. Here on the back lower eye. Just a little mark. And a little mark, a couple of them. There. And too big, just take some of your gray, but you can also do that with the shadow there, just taking that down just a bit there. That looks pretty good. Now, and I go through and I look at all my shines and stuff and make sure that I have all of my my shines. Now, we might want to stipple up his nose a little bit. You can take a liner brush and put on just a couple of whiskers. I don't get too carried away with that kind of stuff, but you're painting, you can decide if you want to have some additional whiskers and stuff. I want to have just a little more light on his nose, I think. And you'll probably, you'll probably see a few other little areas as you step back and start to look at it. I always take him through an evaluation process and look at it. And I have my wife and especially my daughter, because she brings a whole other perspective into it, take a look at it. And we all have one common goal when we start to do that. So I need to put a little more light on that nose, is to make me look good. And so it's got to I use their eyes to help me. My daughter's formally trained. I'm not. And I learned through observation and stuff. And so, I learned through. And so it's nice to have all the other opinions and looks, and so I'll go through and just put a little bit of this and get that. Don't forget to keep that sienna in there, because that's so important, so this nose doesn't get stuck on, right? That's a beautiful tone right there, heading into that. There we go. He has all these real soft kind of violet tones here onto his nose, and just a bit more of a darker shadow right up that center. Like in humans, I heard one magnificent portrait painter call it Cleopatra's fulcrum. Is this part, well, I got a mustache, but it's this part right there in your nose, Cleopatra's fulcrum. And I hadn't heard that. But I'm going to trust him since he's a master at it. But this, there we go. Just put a little bit of that in. So you can refine like that, a touch more here and there, little bits of tone, little marks of tone, but I don't like to do too much, because then I'll start to get out of the freedom that I start to have with all the Prima. I probably will take just a liner brush or two and put something on. Usually what I like to do is to let it dry completely, put on a good coat of extender over the whole thing, because extender kind of wakes up all the tones here when you're painting. And I walked away with my big brush, but I'll show you here. Here I have this one. It kind of wakes up all these tones, and see all of the warm tones that are there underneath. And so this is what it's going to look like when it's varnished here. You can see what the painting looks like here. That's why I love acrylics. I just did all this stuff, and I can put this wet extender over and take a look at it, And you know what I think? Isn't this just fun? There was times, for those of you who are learning, and I know a lot of you follow me, a lot of my students, and a lot of you painting with me in, I'm going to put this in a class called The Art of Seeing. And we're learning how to see, and we're learning how to get some of the things. And I know there's frustration too, because when you're recreating it, you're going to go to a little bit of a copy mode of me and stuff, and I know there's frustration with it. I've been there too, but just paint through it, because this is fun. This is what we've chosen to do, and it's fun, and we must keep it fun. Dear Justice. So I see those tones, I feel, yeah, I can push a little bit of light right out through there. That's just kind of fun into his body there. That's kind of fun. And let's just push sometimes you put that, see that extender on there, and you see some of this. Let's push a lighter tone right up here. That'll draw us a lot more light-dark contrast right up there by his eye. And something when you put that extender over the surface, that the color just slides on there really well. So be careful not to blend it too much, because it slides really easy. let's push a little more light right there and just pull out. That lifts his face off there again, just like that. I think that's, if I don't stop there, but see that last little ring of light kind of lifted. I'm looking at my monitor right there, kind of what you're seeing there, right there, lifted that off. Do you want to push that, dark back up over there? I look for it, it's what some artists call the push and pull of the painting, pushing it back and pulling some things forward and stuff. Do you want to, restate that dark on that ear right there? And do you do it more of a, that extender on there is really wet, so it's just kind of, the tone will move really easy. That's what I want to say there. So it'll move really easy. And do I want to put more light right up there? Sometimes, you get this way in the painting where it's just been such a great, let's see, we're 3.5 hours, somewhere around in there. No, we're about I'm watching my shot clock there. So we're 90 minutes into this one and about 90 minutes into the other one. So about 3 hours, somewhere around there. Anyway, it's fun. It's just fun. And there are times where some paintings don't work and you just have fun with it anyway. And we'll warm this up. Question is, do I want to push? And I think I do. Just a touch more of that light. And sometimes I step back and I look at it, with a cup of coffee or a good drink, good stiff drink if it didn't go well, and decide, from way back. It's not good to decide up close. It's best to decide way back. Let's go to my bigger brush. Standing way back and look at the impact of what your stroke is going to do, what that mark is going to do. Real light. And so that's just a little bit lighter, which are dry to about the same color. So I got to go quite a bit lighter if I want to make an impact, because it's going to dry down a value or two. Here. There we go. Do I want to leave that light? I think I do. I think I want to leave that light. Boy, I like some of that warmth coming down through there as well. I think I'm just going to take some of that right off that edge right there. Right off the edge on that one corner. And yeah, that kind of sparks him up. And let's put a bit of that through light right back up over here. It's nice to look at him with that extender on there. Now I can soften that edge back up over here. A little bit more of that sienna in that. Right off over there, that's good. Just take that right into him as well. So you get a nice through light right there. And maybe we'll let this, the head up here just go softer. I like that St. Andrew's crossing. If his head's that way, you're crossing your tone that way. And that's kind of fun. So you look at that. That's, golly, something's telling me, get brave, Dave, and do it again right in there. There we go, just a little bit more. And, before I'd like blend out a stroke like that, and it's going to dry down, and, now I leave it, and you can blur off the edges here. Just blur off some of your edges so it's a little softer, and you get a nice alla prima look to him there. I'm going to tap off some of that extender there. There we go. So that's how I do it. I'm probably going to just manipulate the edges and stuff here. It's a little stiff right there for me, and so I like to, my final thing is I go back and I look at my edges, how they're handling the edges up against my light and my background. I like them to be kind of blurred and lost here. You know, you have to make an evaluation of that against the dog itself. But I love that about when you're doing Prima lost little portraits like this, and you know, to break some of those edges. So I'll probably manipulate the edges here. Sit back and do that just a little bit, but because I do like that look there. Have that. That's a bit wonky right up there, so I'll put some color and you know, and check your drawing. If you're learning, check your drawing, let it dry, check your drawing, see if there's anything that you've come off a little bit on. That's how you learn. See if you can find it first, and then set your plastic over it and check. But seeing if you can find it first is going to help you with your drawing skills. And it's time to call this one Dave so that you don't overdo it a bit. Just want to make sure I have that tone in there. There, like that. Let's put just they're just fun. Sometimes you just don't want to stop. You know, but you lose the spontaneity of it here if you don't stop soon here, Dave. So it is time. There, like that. Kind of fun. All right. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed. That's 16 by 20. And then I wish I had the frame up there. We'll pop it up, but we'll see it. You can go over to our websites, onto our online gallery and stuff, and see it there. Some of the photo stuff, make sure you visit the website. We'll put the links for everything that we do everywhere. Those of you watching this on YouTube, watching it in the classroom, you know right where it is. But we put links and stuff, and the reference photos and stuff for you there to look at and download, and if you want. And here it is, my little stick. I just saw I came in and hit this edge of the nose, so I do want to bring that out just a bit. He has that there. You'll find the links. You can go in and you know, download photos and everything. You'll see the final photo. We'll put some final photos up. Always check the descriptions in all of our videos, and you'll see the links to everything that we do, what I use, and all that kind of stuff there. And don't forget to hit like. Appreciate it. Make a comment if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. Comment, and because this painting came after one lady that asked me to paint a golden retriever, and and I did that other one back there, Premier Coup, and this one, nice little fun little Watson. So if you want to see something, make sure you comment, and I'll show you how to do it in acrylics. We'll have a bit of fun, okay? I'm just going to put a little more light in here, and then I'm going to go call it done. And here we go, just a bit. All right. Well, could have maybe a touch more. It's nice. I'm looking at it, what you're looking like there. I can right there. I can see, yeah. Sometimes, you know, stepping away from you, you're close like this, that's always good. Get up and get back. Okay, I got to let you go. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you on the next one. We'll do some more. We still have glass, and a whole bunch of other people have asked for other things, and I'll see you on some of the others. And I'm starting a new challenge. It's coming next week. Watch for it. I'll see you later.